I begin with silence, because that's where things start to make sense. In Mallorca, silence has bodies, the salt clinging to your skin, the breath of the rock cooling as evening falls, the sea saying yes and no, again and again. I speak softly, as if confessing behind a folding screen. I'm sitting by a window in Palma. The Mallorcan shutters strain the light like water through fingers. It's dawn, and the city sleeps. I don't. I return to Cala Magraner in my mind and watch that weekend as if it were suspended in amber, the joke, the laughter, the car driving away, and me, standing there with empty hands. My name is Ricardo. 25, back then. An Argentine from Mendoza who fancied himself Milanese out of habit and crooked love, landing in Mallorca with innocence still stuck to his passport and a startup that was already taking on water. Now I tell it calmly, but that day, even breathing made my mouth tremble. We arrived in a rented Fiat, 4 girls chattering over me like seagulls, and me, trying to read the map, pretending to be the guide even though I only knew the names, Felonix, Manacor, Calavarx, Cala Magraner. Vittoria, my wife, was driving. She's from Verona but moves through Milan like through her own kitchen. She has that certainty of someone who always lands on her feet. That's what I liked about her, at first. I think I mistook things, took her confidence for grace, her irony for wit, her jokes for affection. I know now people show who they are slowly. I wasn't patient. At Cala Magraner the world feels newly made, a path between pines, red earth, a sky too perfect to apologize for it. We walk, loaded with towels, a bag of cheap wine and grapes, and my backpack with everything, my life, really, the smartphone with my emails, contacts, the incubator numbers in Milan, my notes on how to pivot the project, my wallet with cards and my Italian ID, and my Argentine passport. The sun leans sideways. They walk ahead, laughing at something I don't understand. I lag behind, my feet heavy with clumsy thoughts. I feel short of air, like I've been messing up for months, promising things that never happen, investment, traction, those words I learned in cafes among people who drank cappuccinos for sport and talked too loudly. Yes, I've been walking around with a bag over my head. The cove opens like a mouth of stone. The sea is glass. I take off my sneakers, drop the backpack on a rock, and for a while, everything is forgetfulness. I swim. I dive. I rise again. For a moment, I believe everything could begin anew if you just emptied the noise inside. When I return, Vittoria is sitting with her friends, the wine already open, the scent of sunscreen mingling with expensive perfume. She waves me over, shaking the glass, and when I sit down, she looks at me with those triangular eyes she gets before a joke. Ricardo, she says, Italian with the Spanish I taught her, do you know what you are? Pathetic. Pathetic and sweet. So sweet. I laugh, out of reflex. I tell her don't start, with that half smile my grandmother taught me to disarm family tempers. Vittoria laughs, and so do her friends. One of them, Julia, mimics my accent. Another, Francesca, pretends to cry. The third, Elena, records on her phone. They call me an entrepreneur without a company, a tourist without a map, a husband who asks permission to exist. They say it with that soft cruelty of people who think irony is an art form. I take a sip of wine, and instead of blood, I swallow ash. I stand up to get my backpack. It's gone. I look around. Nothing. I ask. They shrug. I take a few steps, my heart in my throat. Nothing. I turn toward them, 4 shadows sitting cross-legged, the sun behind them. They look like a postcard from a movie where I'm just an extra. I walk to the parking area, no bag there either. When I come back, Vittoria is standing. She has the car key dangling from her index finger, spinning it slowly. Relax, amore, she says. It's just a weekend. Don't work. Don't think. How hard can that be? The car. My things are in the car. I say that. They nod. Say we'll go later, that now is the time to tan, to learn to enjoy without planning, that the world won't end if I don't answer my emails. I insist. I say I need my phone, that I have the tickets, that. She cuts me off with a short smile. Stop justifying yourself. You're pathetic, she repeats, softer now, with a pitch that hurts more than shouting. And you bore me. Her friends stand up. The 4 of them brush off the sand. I try to follow, but my legs feel waterlogged from the inside. We reach the parking lot among the pines. The smell of resin makes me nauseous. And then, in that exact second, I understand, they're leaving without me. Victoria waves her hand, a flicking gesture, sweeping me away. The others double over laughing, that dry laughter of well-bred cruelty. Elena, the one filming, says something in Italian that sounds like a slogan. Victoria gets in, starts the car. I knock on the window. The key isn't mine. The car takes the road out. I run. I'm not fast. They disappear. I throw my voice after them, but it doesn't reach. The last image, Victoria's arm through the window, giving a small, cold wave. Dust rises, coating me in a new layer. I return to the cove. Out of habit, out of not knowing what else to do. I burn my face with my hands. I sit down. I go to the small cave off to the side, a hollow of stone just big enough for a man who doesn't want to take up space. That's where I decide to spend the night. I tell myself it's a joke, that they'll come back, that that's how they are, that it's adrenaline, that the joke will tire itself out. I know better. They don't come back. The night in the cove breathes, hums softly. A breeze moves over me like a hand on my chest, checking I'm still here. There are stars I don't know by name, yet I recognize them the way one recognizes a scent. I sleep in fragments. When I wake, my mouth is full of salt and a new ache splits me in two, the man I was before the cave, and the one who's just beginning to exist. In the morning, I climb up the trail and start hitchhiking. No one stops. A German man looks at me with pity and speeds up. I go back down, drink seawater by mistake, and vomit. That first day, the sun behaves like an obstacle. I feel ridiculous, but ridicule doesn't kill you, it teaches you patience. The second night, I do the same, nestled deeper in, wrapped in a towel I find hanging from a branch. By the third, I begin to understand this isn't a pause, it's a border. I say it out loud, this erases me from the map. And when you're erased, you have two choices, cry until you turn transparent, or draw yourself again with your fingers. So I draw myself. On the third day, an older couple appears, Mallorcans, carrying a little blue cooler. They look at me and see me. The woman hands me a plastic container with tortilla and says, without asking anything, Palma's that way, muchacho. She points with her chin, kind and shy. The man gives me water and tells me there are buses from Manacor, that the EMT crosses the city if I make it to Palma, that if I reach the Estaccio Intermodal I can ask around. I write those words down as if they were passwords. I walk. I walk the way one accepts something. I pass by farms, by a dog who follows me for 2 kilometers and then, realizing I'm clumsy even at receiving affection, stays behind barking softly, without reproach. I reach a road and a white van stops. A Moroccan man, with a tiny radio murmuring in Arabic, gives me a ride to Palma. He drops me near the San Castello industrial area, and his city bus driver, when I ask, points me to line 12. I'm lucky, a loose bill in my shorts pocket, as if the angels had tucked it there for the punchline. The city greets me with a heat that doesn't apologize. Palma pulses quietly, as if it didn't want to exaggerate its beauty. I think about that as I step off at Plaza de España, look at the Estaccio Intermodal, and feel a bit inside an order that doesn't yet include me. I go in and ask about the Argentine consulate. It isn't there, of course, but the word consulate stirs glances. A young employee tells me to look it up online. I say I don't have a phone. He gives me that strange mix of suspicion and pity. He writes an address on a scrap of paper, marks the avenue, tells me to take the 25 toward the Paseo Marítimo, to ask for the Parc de la Mar, that from there the cathedral will orient Maine. I end up walking. I like to walk when I'm lost, if my steps have logic, something in me repairs itself. I pass through Syndicat Street, through the Olivar Market where fish shine as if still swimming, cross narrow alleys designed for conversations no one overheard. I reach La Seu, the cathedral, and its calm feels almost physical. I sit by the Parc de la Mar, watching the still water, recycling my thoughts. A local policeman passes nearby. I stand and approach him. I explain, with a serenity I didn't know I had, I've been robbed. Not entirely a lie. I can choose the version. He listens, asks questions, writes things down. He takes me to the Central District Station. Sitting on that hard bench, I realize patience has texture. From there, everything slows down. The Argentine consulate. A woman who speaks with just the right gentleness, offering a glass of water without making it a gesture. I give her my information. By afternoon, she calls, someone found my documents in a trash bin at Palma Airport, a cleaning worker thought they might be useful. The cards are gone. The phone's gone. But the passport and a battered ID pulled from the garbage return me to the edge of the map. The consulate woman takes me to file the report. The police take notes again. It's a thin thread, but it's a thread. I walk back along the Paseo del Born and stop at a random cafe for an iced coffee, which feels like an invention made just for me. I write on a napkin a list of things still within my reach. Find temporary work, hospitality. Sleep under a roof tonight. Call Milan from a phone booth. Tell my mother I'm okay. Writing flattens the weight in my chest. I sleep the first few nights at a hostel in La Lonja. It has an inner courtyard where the air seems to keep its own calendar. On the wall, a pale virgin. And a cat staring from above, like it knows every secret. I call Milan from the receptionist's phone. He lets me use it for a few euros. No one answers at the incubator. I call my mother. I breathe. I lie a little, tell her everything's fine, that I'm with friends. I've never been good with her anguish. I hang up. Sit in the courtyard and cry silently. It's a strange kind of crying, the kind adults do when they realize pride can cry too. Work comes in a strange way. Someone needs help unloading boxes at a restaurant in Santa Catalina. The owner studies my hands. I tell him I half-finished an engineering degree, that I can cook just enough, that I don't get sick easily, that I learn fast. He hires me. Pays in cash. Feeds me a plate of paella bialy at the end of the shift. I say thank you, and it feels like the word lights something in my throat. Ximena arrived the first week of June, standing behind the bar with a smile that didn't come for free. From Chihuahua, she said, as if introducing herself with a place that was also a temperament. Hair tied back, gaze steady, a faint scar tracing her left eyebrow. She didn't ask much. She watched. 2 days in, when she saw me jotting down orders in a notebook and talking to the suppliers as if we'd known each other for years, she said, "You're the kind of man who fixes things with thread while others buy new rope." She said it without looking at me, as if guarding her words so they wouldn't wear out. I laughed. She didn't. She was serious. We didn't fall in love with fireworks. Nor with promises. We simply walked side by side like two people who've already seen shipwrecks and prefer to look at the sky before declaring it's blue. We found we liked silence that smelled like toasted bread, and the early light slipping through the blinds. One day, she told me she used to work weddings back in Mexico, that she knew the choreography of other people's love. I told her about my failed startup in Milan, how we tried to build dynamic dining experiences, how the algorithm never quite worked, how the investors were great at promising terrace meetings but not signing checks. She said terraces lie. I nodded. The idea didn't come to us, it gathered. In Mallorca, sunsets are a shameless invitation. There are places that don't appear in postcards because they don't need photographs. Couples at the restaurant kept asking for special places. We started realizing special wasn't a place, it was a setting, a tablecloth, a candle, the right sound, the promise of privacy, a loaf of bread that crackles when you touch it. One night, after a shift, we walked up to the Mirador de Sa Foradada. Not to sell anything, just to unwind the day. That's where the light bulb went on. Private dinners at hidden spots around the island, for proposals, anniversaries, full logistics, a table where there shouldn't be one, and intimate choreography, I said, staring at the hole in the rock as if it were a portal. Ximena answered with what makes an idea solid: permits, suppliers, transport, everything that turns a vision into a table. The business didn't have a name at first. They were just dinners. We promoted them online with spare, honest photos, no cliches, no glitter and words that didn't promise Disney, but Mallorca as it really is. The wind sneaking up your linen sleeve. A wine stain that isn't a disaster but a memory. A ring that doesn't shine for the camera because it shines in someone's eyes. The couples came. First, friends of friends. Then tourists looking for something unpretentious. A friend with a drone gave us a short film that became our calling card. I hauled foldable tables and cutlery in the trunk of a tiny car we bought in installments. Ximena tuned the soundtrack, 3 songs, no more, on a small portable speaker we carried like a charm. We learned to read the wind. To leave no trace. To arrive half an hour before the good light. Cala Magraner returned to my life, but not as a wound, as a redeemed setting. It took me months to step back there. I returned with a German couple who wanted something wild and clean. I walked the path with a calm that felt borrowed from the island itself. We set the table near the rock, where the shadow falls without asking. Dinner was local cheese, bread from a bakery that opened when we were closing, and a wine I had finally learned to pronounce. When they left, we picked up every last grain of salt that didn't belong. I stayed a minute longer, a moment almost religious. Not to forgive. To observe. And in that act of looking, the knot inside me came undone. Years measure differently when you build a home with someone. Ximena and I moved into a small flat near Santa Catalina, steps from the market. It had a tiny terrace where 2 chairs and a flower pot just fit. We learned the rhythm of the neighbors, the old lady on the 3rd floor watering her plants in her robe, the baker humming before dawn, the boy upstairs rehearsing his saxophone without mercy but with faith. We set up a ridiculous office in the dining room, a laptop, notebooks, a whiteboard scribbled with colored markers and the week's route. The island became a livable map, Formentor with its knife-edge wind, Bethlem with its discretion, Port de Canonge with its dark stones, Dia like a promise best taken in moderation. In summer, we were 2 ants. In winter, 2 readers wrapped in blankets and stews. Ximena taught me to cut solitude into manageable pieces. I taught her not to bargain with guilt. Vittoria faded into a distant word, surfacing only in the occasional dream. Sometimes I heard, through others or through the web, bits of her life, a move, a new boyfriend, a trip. I'd see and scroll past. Not proud of having erased her, just responsible enough not to let her back in. Justice, I learned, is a daily exercise, closing the door quietly. Ximena understood. She never asked for explanations or heroic stories, she simply invited me, without saying so, to work. 10 years go by before we even say 10. When we finally do, it makes me laugh. Time is a dog that follows you, not a calendar. We're good at what we do. Not successful like a slogan, good the way carpenters are good, sleeping soundly. We have 2 full-time employees, 3 more in summer. We do few dinners each night. We've learned to say no. Brands, influencers, magazines ask for photos. We agree on one condition, never lie to the sea. Never stage the wind. If it doesn't want to play along, it doesn't. And that ethic, which sounds like nothing much, brought us peace. Vittoria returns the way well-mannered ghosts do, with a resume. It's July. Palma sits in that temperature where the body starts negotiating with everything. The email arrives uninvited. Short. There. Ricardo, I'm in Palma. Looking for summer work. I heard about your company. I need a job. Vittoria. I read it 3 times. A slow roller coaster rises in my chest and stops before the drop. I show it to Ximena in the kitchen. She's slicing tomatoes. She reads, looks up. Says nothing. Pours me a glass of water. I drink. I agree to meet her. We choose a cafe near Placa Major, the kind with tiled walls that bend the light and coffee that tastes like an old conversation. I arrive early, back to the wall. Vittoria walks in 10 minutes late, as if nothing had changed. But everything has. She has dark circles unbothered by concealer, hair tied up without intention, a dress too tight for her posture. We greet with a kiss on the cheek. She sits. Her perfume doesn't place me anywhere anymore. She speaks plainly, lost her job in Milan, a string of temp gigs that fizzled, a boyfriend who lasted less than an autumn, a family done funding her transitions. She's in Mallorca for one of those overflowing seasons, hotels and restaurants desperate for hands. She's sent resumes. No one replies the way she wants. She needs a bridge, a reference, a spot in our company, even setting tables. I can carry, I can smile, I can handle difficult clients, she says, and in that list I feel how far away she's gone. I listen. Don't interrupt. I watch her without resentment. From that distance I've learned to keep. Ask about her health. Her mother. Verona. Simple questions that build a small net where my voice can move safely. She grows impatient, like before. Reminds me, hand cutting the air, I need work. I nod. I could say no. I could get up and tell her justice means closing circles with a lock. I could meet her eyes with the exact cruelty to pay back that afternoon at the cove. But I don't. It's not in me. I'm not the same man. Maybe she isn't either. In my wallet I carry a notebook. I jot down, in pencil, what I don't want to forget. Pain arranges itself if you don't shove it. Pride, when it dresses up, suffocates. I write a number. Tear the page out. Slide it to her. It's the price of a low-cost flight from Palma to Milan, average fare for that week. A check, yes, but it doesn't say run away. It says begin again where you still feel human. Not mercy. Not irony. A practical gesture with a hint of symmetry, the same vehicle she used to lead that afternoon, now I offer it as her way back to herself. I tell her quietly, there isn't a place for you in the company. It's not punishment. It's respect for our team, our clients, our history. But take this. Don't use it for me. Use it to go where you can be well. And do it without an audience. Victoria stares at the check as if it were written in another alphabet. Her jaw tightens. She gives a dry laugh. Asks if it's a joke. I tell her no, it's just a number and a wish. No subtext. She stays silent for a long time. Looks down. And for an instant no longer than a hummingbird's breath, I see the woman I once knew, pride built over fear. Her eyes glisten. She doesn't cry. Neither do I. She says thank you in a tone unfamiliar to both of us. Takes the paper between two fingers, as if it burns. Pockets it. Stands. Before leaving, she looks at me. The man you were. I'm sorry. The words leave her like a bone forced out. I don't pick it up entirely. I nod, with respect. I leave after she does. Palma remains Palma. The breeze in Placa Major tries to make an entrance and fails. I walk toward La SEU, because my body has learned to calm itself under that geometry. At the Parc de la Mar there are tourists, couples, a man playing guitar like he knows tomorrow's weather for the heart. I sit. My phone buzzes, a message from Ximena, a photo of the terrace, 2 plates of pasta, a glass of wine. Come. It's ready, she writes. That come carries the most precise music I've heard in years. I reply, on my way. At home, the air feels more ours than anywhere else. I open the door, greeted by garlic and a sauce that needs time and a low voice. I hug her from behind. Tell her without ornament, I saw her, gave her a check, there's no job for her, I don't want to open doors that undo us. Ximena listens with a craftswoman's attention. No praise. No judgment. Just a nod. She serves the pasta. We eat slowly. She passes me the bread to clean the plate, and I get the feeling, nitinka, as some say, that my life fits inside that scene with a quiet kind of dignity. That night, before sleep, I return to Cala Magraner. Not really, just in my head. I enter the cave again and see the 25-year-old me, shoulders hunched, mouth dry. I sit beside him, hand him water, bread, a blanket. And I tell him, listen, I won't promise you anything grand. I promise you'll learn to ask without humiliation and to give without control. I promise success won't be a stage but a table with 2 plates, and the certainty you can explain what sustains you without speeches. I promise you'll live well, which isn't the same as living on display. And I promise that one day, the joke will dissolve in a glass of water, and what remains will be your name, spoken by someone who loves you from the perfect distance. I sleep. I dream easily. I wake early. The Santa Catalina market smells of coffee and bread. I load the car for the evening, tablecloths, glasses, a discreet centerpiece, dripless candles. We stop by the bakery that keeps loaves for us, the kind that look like conversations. We greet the owner, she knows our moods by now. Then we drive toward the chosen spot. Today it's a nearly secret cliff, reached by a narrow path that never made it onto tourist maps. The sky promises and keeps its word. Ximena fine-tunes the menu, marinated fish, fennel salad, a dessert she learned from her grandmother. I set the table as if tuning an instrument, leg by leg, the glass cleared of bubbles, the fabric falling just so, in rhythm with the wind. We don't think about Instagram. We think about them, the couple who trusted us with a moment they'll remember. When they arrive, everything unfolds with a sweetness I couldn't describe without diminishing it. I move with that grateful care of someone who understands the weight of things. That evening, as we're packing up, my phone buzzes. An Italian number. Vittoria. Her message is brief. Thank you. I fly tomorrow. Don't take this as my defeat. It's a return. I wish you well. I read it aloud to Ximena. I nod. Put the phone away. No need to answer. Stories know how to find their own ending when you stop touching them. They improve when you let them breathe. I drive back to Palma watching the sea, feeling something that came late but finally came, belonging without ceremony. The island seeped into me the way oil seeps into linen, quietly, irreversibly. It's no trophy, it's the landscape where the best part of me stands firmly. At home, the terrace waits with 2 chairs and a flower pot. We sit. The sky takes on that unnameable color you feel more than see. We toast. Ximena asks, not from curiosity, but to help me put things in their place. What did you learn? I smile, small. Answer with words that have become like pebbles in my pocket. That the best revenge is a life that doesn't need to explain why it left the noise behind. That justice isn't punishment, it's choosing who sits at your table. That some checks don't buy anything, but open a door toward an exit. That tenderness, the thing I once mistook for weakness, cuts deep when used on time. I lie down. Close my eyes. I'm no longer erased from the map. I've learned to draw my own. And on it, on the island's edge, at the end of a thin thread of table bathed in gentle light, sits my name. Still and steady. Like a signature that no longer trembles. I choose a life that doesn't need witnesses to be true.